Hello, everybody. Christopher, Canadian Conservative here, and well, I guess it's politics season. We have an election coming up. Today is what is it? April 7th today. April 8th. What's the date today? April 8th. All right. Um, so in just a little less than 3 weeks, April 28th, we're having a federal election, and in my opinion, probably the most important federal election of all time. Um, the last 10 years has been absolutely dreadful by any measure, and I don't know how people keep voting liberal. I think it speaks to a lack of critical thinking skills. Um, I've always, when I've watched the news, quote unquote, like when I was living at home and 6 o'clock news would come on or whatever, I always felt that it was a waste of time. It was just weather, traffic, some feel good story about a dog that got lost and came home, or some stupid thing, and then some little there was a murder here, or there was a investigation into a police officer there, or some whatever. Meanwhile, there's massive corruption and wars going on, and you know geopolitical issues that are far more important than any of the crap you see on the news. It's not even news. It's just propaganda. So I'd always had questions and felt that it was quite irrelevant and was never really interested in watching it, but I didn't know where to get any other kind of news. Things were going pretty well in my life, so I never really stopped to look around, and that's what I find. All these people that grew up with CBC, so anyone over 60, my mother, all these people that grew up trusting the legacy media, who've worked hard, done everything right, been able to buy a home. My mom was a secretary at Yellow Pages and worked her way from the bottom all the way to the top, became an executive, retired at 58, ended up getting a 7-year severance because the company bought them out. She was going to retire at 60 anyway. So they paid her severance. She got a 7-figure bonus, blah, blah, blah. And, so she's done very well. So she's got nothing to question, right? Here I am looking around going, well, hold on a second. I'm not going to own a home unless I win the lottery. And even then, I'm not, I could literally win the lottery and still not afford a home. Um, you know, um, I think income tax is theft. I think property tax is total bullshit. I don't understand. If you're paying property tax, you're renting from the government. You don't own anything. What do you own? You know, you see like some sweet old lady that's lived in her house for 65 years on a fixed income. The government inflates the currency so much and her assets so much that she can't even stay in her home if she wants to. At some point, you're going to not be able to afford your property tax if your house is all of a sudden worth $2 million, you know, and you're paying 1%. I mean, some people can't afford to pay 20, thousand plus dollars a year in property tax, you know, so yeah, lots of issues I have with the tax, what they do with our money, not to mention the fact that look at all the money that they print. If you can just print money, why do you need our income tax? Florida doesn't, you know? And historically, when you look back at different places that didn't have income tax, even like this country or the United States, things are a lot better for people as far as how far their dollar went, right? I mean, you can still collect tax from goods and services, right? You you can collect taxes in different ways. Income tax is just pure theft of your labor. I go out and I earn money for my labor. I get paid for it, and then now you're going to tax me on it. And then if I buy something, you're going to tax me on it. If I sell that thing, you're going to tax me and the person who buys it. It's ridiculous. So, what woke me up was COVID, as I sort of alluded to in my first message, and I think anyone that's looking around the last 10 years objectively, I don't see how you can vote. I mean, unfortunately, we have two options, right? And I like Pierre, so I think he's got a lot of good ideas. I don't know that it's enough. I mean, but it's certainly a lot better than what we have. These woke policies, these green policies that want to keep all of our oil in the ground. Meanwhile, these people like Mark Carney, who say that they want to have all these green initiatives, they have investments through Brookfield Asset Management. Look that up if you haven't heard of it. And he's the chair and vice chair on the boards of these things and all these other, companies. He's giving pro bono, excuse me, pro bono, policy advice to governments all over the world, including Trudeau, to stop all of these pipelines while his company is directly investing in buying up pipelines. I mean, they own a pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the United States that goes from Texas to New York. 5,500 miles. I don't quote me on that, but it's the biggest pipeline, I believe, in the United States. So, we need to unleash our natural resources, and we need to get back to some common sense. We can't keep spending money the way we're spending. $60 billion last year deficit, $30 billion already in 3 months this year, and the government's prorogued. What are you doing? What are you spending this money on? So that's just all of these ridiculous policies, and it's bankrupting us. The cost of living, it's insane. If you have 10 loaves of bread and $10 in the monetary system, that's all you got is $10 in bread. Well, those loaves of bread are worth $1 each. If you print another $10 and you have $20, we're not richer, because that still only buys the same 10 loaves of bread. Unless your GDP, you have real growth from manufacturing, from job creation. That's how you get your real GDP growth, and we are last. United States, something like 22%, and we're point something percent, less than 1%. We're the worst in the G7, worst in any modernized country, pretty much. And when you look into how this has happened, I mean, China is directly involved. China is a big one, and I mean, it's not hard to figure out. Manufacturing has completely just left since the last 50 years. Just since 1990, I think it is. Was it 1990 or maybe 2000? Something like 90,000 manufacturing jobs, almost 100,000 manufacturing. Not jobs, manufacturing facilities are gone in the United States. Where do you think that's going to? So, when you talk about free trade, it's supposed to be fair trade, right? All these people are freaking out about tariffs. I've got another little bit that I'm going to do on tariffs later. But, it is insane to think that you can just run a deficit in trade forever, indefinitely. The United States is essentially sponsoring the world, the $200 billion annual trade deficit. That doesn't do anyone any good. Anyways, we're getting a bit off topic here. The point is, we have an election coming up, and there's two choices. It's either going to be the person who said the same things his entire career since he was 20. He wrote an essay about how the country should be run, and that's Pierre Poilievre. And if you don't know that essay, go look it up. It's not hard to find. And he's saying the same things today. He wants to unleash our resources, reduce the size of government, reduce the bureaucracy, reduce permitting, reducing wait times to build, bring back investment, because we can actually have pipelines. We can exploit our oil and gas and our energy sector, which is mostly Alberta, who we've treated like crap as a country forever. LNG, liquefied natural gas, that's another thing. You all look at Mark Carney and his ties to Qatar. Qatar gave him a $2 billion loan, which he used to get a lease on a building, which is actually owned by Jared Kushner, which is one of Trump's, is his son-in-law. This is back in 2007, 2008, when he bought that building, I think, before the crisis. It became a big albatross around his neck, and so he was looking for investors. Brookfield Asset Management comes in with this loan from Qatar's Democracy Now! Fund. so ridiculous. So he gets that money, and then they get a 99-year lease on all the rentals from that building. So they'll finish the building, and then they get, so they just come in when people, like any hedge firm, right? You come in when people need the money, you get a deal that's good for you, you buy it out, you make a profit long term. But Qatar, coincidentally, did that favor for them. Well, Qatar is the world's leader in LNG. So if you're wondering why we don't have any LNG in Canada, when Mark Carney is the one who's been advising Trudeau on all these policies, which are keeping all of this, oil in the ground, and how Trudeau says there's not a business case Germany, Europe, they all needed cheap energy, and instead they're going to get it from Russia. So, I mean, it's common sense, right? For lack of a better term, but it is common sense. Pierre is the only option at this point. I don't want this channel to be all about politics, but this is the season that we're in right now. And politics, unfortunately, is life. If the government had stayed out of the way and not stolen all of our money, locked us down, told us you can't see loved ones and you can't work unless you get 2 of those, you can't earn a living. I mean, if that didn't wake you up to government overreach and maybe questioning some of the things you see on the news, then I don't know what will. You might be too stupid. If you know people like that, and I know people like that, I feel for you. I feel your pain. I don't know what these people, what it's going to take. And who knows? Maybe just a liberal loss, a landslide conservative win, and, some immediate remedies to some cost of living, some housing prices, and some investment coming back, job creation. And hopefully it'll happen fast enough that, they'll give credit where it's due. I think Pierre's got he's got the mind for it. I think he's very professional. He's funny. He's down to earth. I find him quite relatable, even for someone that's been in politics his whole life. Probably the most relatable politician that I've ever seen that's just a politician, hasn't come from the private sector or had a different job or a different upbringing, but, just his whole story. I think he's saying a lot of good things. And for people that criticize that, it's like he's the opposition. Like, give him a chance. All he can do is talk. He's not going to come out with, the big thing was always just slogans. That's politics 101. You can't come out with all of your plans so that your opponents can just steal them, because they'll just criticize the ones they think are bad and steal the ones that they think are good. So he's come up with stuff that, are unstealable, that are better than what the liberals are doing, better than what Carney has promised. I mean, look at the turnouts for these things, man. 15,000 people. The biggest one ever was 5,000 for a political rally. Just amazing. It gives me a lot of hope that we can get this country back on the right track. Because otherwise, I mean, I want to live in my car, temporarily to get back on my feet. I don't want this to be indefinite. I mean, I could see myself with a van and some dogs and a little dog charity traveling around, doing some training. I could see that. That's a passion of mine. Play a little poker. That's another passion of mine. But I mean, I can't play poker with money that I don't afford to, or can't afford to lose. So, for me, there's no poker. There's no real dog training. I'm just trying to take this time to hopefully, create something in the name of these videos, in terms of these videos that hopefully will help some people, hopefully maybe wake up some people, get some people talking, maybe get some people realizing legacy media is a joke, get some people to stop reading headlines so much, maybe find some better trusted news sources, because I've certainly found better ones. And I think that that's the purpose of these things, and we'll see what happens with this election. I'm just going to try to have some day-to-day videos with my thoughts, things that I'm struggling with, things that I'm, maybe little hacks here and there. I've got a McDonald's hack that's been pretty funny for the last couple of months. I'm waiting for it to end, but that's for another video. Anyways, I think that's about all I have for now. I don't want to get I could go on forever about politics and stuff here, but for anyone that's looking for an alternative news source, I think Moose on the Loose is a fantastic one. Was it not Northern Reflections? I'll have to get back to you on that one. But Moose on the Loose is a good one. The Pleb's a good one. Clyde Do Something is a great one. Obviously, podcasts in long form are phenomenal. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about news sources, feel free to put something in the comments, and I'll try and, if you have a particular type of news that you like, I can certainly point people in the right direction. The truth is not hard to find if you're looking for it. You have to know to look for it. If you can't recognize when you watch a 3-minute segment on legacy news on CBC or something that they're pushing an agenda, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know if it's people are too trusting or too stupid or both, but yeah, we'll see. Anyways, that's all I got for tonight. We'll see you next time.